Hey, welcome to Auto Dealer Live. Today's show is going to be amazing. You guys are going to love it. We're continuing down the same vein that we have been, and we're talking about how COVID has affected your business. We got 3 rockstar general managers that are on the show today, and they're all 3 amazing guys that I'm good friends with. We have Shawn Hays, general manager of CMA's Colonial Chevrolet. We have Kevin Strosnider, general manager of Strosnider Chevrolet, and we have Blaine Roche, the general manager of Brandon Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Canada. So man, I'm telling you what, this is gonna be an awesome show. Enjoy it.
Good afternoon. What's up, Brett Oubre?
What's going on, Dave?
Man, not too much, man. I just feel, I got a good feeling about today's show.
I think we're going to do well.
I do too. You know, great topic. You know, let me tell you something, man. It pays off to have a dealer on the show as well, because the topics have never been better. And I think what Brett's doing is going down as pretty easy for you. You're probably going down your Rolodex of every struggle you've had, every challenge you've ever overcome, and said, hey, this is what we face. And today, man, talking about, you know, personnel, man, and you can hit it from every angle.
Yeah, how to keep your employees motivated in the new normal. And of course, you know, before we get off on that, I want to talk a little bit about a couple things you have going to help mentor people and motivate them. I think you got a couple of podcasts outside of this that kind of encourage people, don't you?
Yeah, I do. Thank you, man. You know, Game Changer podcast is on Wednesdays at 11, and those of you guys that want to check it out, I mean, here's the deal. It's just simply to motivate, man. Just simply to motivate and share a little bit about what we're doing here every single day to keep going. So that's all it is, man.
If you don't know Dave Villa, this is one of the most motivated people I've ever met in my life. He's always hopping, he's always moving, he's always doing something, and probably reached the point in his career where he doesn't have to do that, and he's still doing it. So follow him on the Game Changer, check it out, and get some good encouragement, especially those that are watching the show today and you're in a individual contributor role and you're thinking about how do I motivate myself. Those are some of the ways that you can.
I appreciate that, man. Thank you very much. And so, you know, getting to spend a lot of time with you here. I know you came in early today too, and you got a book that's coming out here not too long, and you were doing some photo shoots and some things going on as well. So, you know, I would definitely highly recommend connecting with you and what you're doing as well.
Yeah, we're just going to talk a little bit about some success principles in the book. And, you know, I mean, I grew up in a very poor environment, and, you know, I don't have any family that's in the business. Not that that's a bad thing, but just going to talk about some layperson ways to be successful and follow those patterns without giving up. And so, yeah, we're hoping to have that out by the 1st of next year. So.
Awesome. Well, you know, if you can't tell, you know, one of the things I've always loved about Brett, and you know, and when we didn't come on to lather each other up here and build
really.
each other. No, we didn't. But, you know, one of the things I will say, and this is really for you guys that are aspiring to be leaders, you know, I'm often asked questions about leadership or how do you, and really when someone's asking you, hey, what do I need to do to get my business to this level? If they ask you privately, what they're really asking is, you know, they're not asking about talent. They're not really asking about giftings and things like that. They're asking about, you know, things that they can find out that you've done because they're struggling with getting there. And I'm going to say this, in my experience, you know, when you serve somebody, when you've got that servant leadership or that, you know, your humility. I mean,
right.
What you just said just now is, hey, look, there's just some, you know, layperson tips. And look, I mean, he's underplaying it, or that's really the way you talk. I mean, that's just it. You failed enough until you started succeeding.
Anybody who says that they've succeeded and never failed, don't trust them.
That's
because
right.
The lessons are learned in failure. They're not learned in success. I mean, so all success does is teach you arrogance. And so
I'll tell you one thing I've been doing, man, since you've been coming around is I've been drinking way too. Well, you know, I drink my 6 shot in the morning, 6-shot Americano in the morning, black. And so that gets me going. And my employees used to yell at me because I would drink one in the afternoon. And now that Brett's coming around on Thursdays, every Thursday I'm drinking another 4 or 5 shots. And so when we get off the show, I'm good for another 8 hours.
So Thursday's a long night for you.
Yeah, it's a long night, man. It's a long night.
Hey, man, your family might appreciate that.
I get. My wife's like, listen, stop giving them coffee. You know, I'm just kidding. But so I didn't mean that, y'all. I didn't mean that the wrong way. So don't be looking at me like that, Ezra. I meant that like, would he please shut up? Huh? I'm just telling you, man. I didn't mean that. Listen, y'all looking at me like laughing, chuckling.
All right, get Diane in here, buddy.
Yeah, let's not. Hey, let's just leave it at that. All right.
I've never seen Dave blush, man.
Well, yeah, man. Look at these guys, these jambronis right here are all looking at me like, oh, yeah, that's not even what I meant.
That's great.
For the record, I made no look at you whatsoever.
I saw your head poke up over the monitors. Look at neighbor on Home Improvement. He was looking over the edge of the fence.
But anyway, I think, that plays right in the topic we're talking about, because what we're talking about is how do you motivate people in, this new normal, so to speak. And so, obviously there's some things that have changed. There's some protocols that have changed. There's some guidelines as a leader that you have to give people hope and give people direction and make them feel safe and secure in their environment. And hopefully the strong leaders you brought on today will give us some good insight into this.
We have some of the best. I mean, we have first of all, our own Joe Cal is going to join us from right out here in the bullpen of Auto Dealer University. We're in a big office here, and we have 13,000 square feet. And so he's over in the bullpen of Auto Dealer University with his crew. But I figured, he's really versed in dealing with dealers every day. He deals with about 100 dealerships with their employees, and so this is a really good topic for him to weigh in on. But also we have the one and only Shawn Hays. Shawn, I mean, our guests he's no stranger to our guests. He's been on the show probably, 15 times over the years. But Shawn started out as a salesperson at the Hyundai store in St. Augustine, went up to Dan Cummings Chevy, where Glenn came from, and became a sales manager there. Now he's, for the last going on a year, I guess, a GM at Colonial Chevrolet in Richmond, Virginia. Nice. Shawn is a big culture guy. He knows how to lead people, so perfect for this. And he said it from the very get-go. I appreciate his attitude with all of this COVID. He just has had a positive, opportunistic, I'm going to take ground attitude, and he's done that. And then we got Kevin Strosnider. Kevin, a man of faith, really good guy. His father started the dealership. Kevin's the managing partner there, the owner of Strosnider Chevy in Hopewell, Virginia. Just a great leader, really good guy. And then we have someone from north of the border, Brandon. He is Brandon Rock, and Brandon is there's so many Brandons in his. Oh, I'm sorry, Blaine. I'm sorry, that's why. So Blaine Rock. And he's a GM of Brandon Chrysler Dodge Jeep in Brandon, Manitoba. And I was thinking there was too many Brandons in there, so my eyes kind of blended together. But he's going to join us as well. I've never met Brandon, but Joe.
That's Canada, right?
Canada, yeah.
So, I was sitting here thinking when you were introducing those, is that, I was a vendor before I was a dealer. And so right. I got an opportunity to visit a lot of stores. And, you'd say, what does Canada have to do with the United States car business? But let me tell you that Canada and then the deep northeast of this country, these guys have to be really creative, because in about another 2 or 3 months, they get real winners. Yeah. They get 20 feet of snow on the ground, and they got to get people motivated to come out and buy cars and have creative ways to show it to them. A lot of them show them on the indoors, and a lot of that translates probably into what's going on right now as far as this contact touchless delivery, because there's a lot of people that get hard winters, they don't want to leave home. You know what I mean? Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Well, I know they're ready. They're locked and loaded. And Mike, are you going to bring them on like Brady Bunch style, all 4 at one? Okay, so we're going to bring them all on the screen at one time here, so you can see all their pretty faces. And we're just going to go right to Shawn Hays. Can I throw the first question out to Shawn? There's Shawn, top left. Blue Blazers. Shawn Hays, man, question I know you're going to just smack out of the park. By the way, thank you, Joe. I know you're busy. Joe might have to fade away and do a TO, but I know Joe, if he has to do one, he'll probably leave his headset on and let you watch him. But anyway, we have Kevin and Shawn and Blaine. Shawn, what have you done to modify, right? What have you modified, I should say, to keep your key personnel performing? Because if anybody's done that, you have.
And so give us some key modifications that you've made to keep your key personnel just performing at top gear.
Well, hey, thanks for having me on, guys. Love the show as always. Well, we're 40% up over last year. So
that's awesome.
Told you. Awesome. Congratulations, brother.
We're cranking. But I think the major difference is the GM or the GSM, whoever's present in the dealership has to be present in the dealership. Okay? It has to be. You have to be involved. You have to share your vision. You have to walk that vision through. You have to sell that vision to everybody, and they have to buy into that vision. And I think that's number one most important thing. I don't think that's much different than normal. Okay, so but now you have to just micromanage it a little bit more, just to make sure that you have buy-in every day. Second thing is you have to make sure that everybody knows how you care about them. Okay, this is very, very important because you can wake up the next day and have two people say, "Hey, I'm sick today and I ain't coming in." You know what I'm saying? And you can probably think, "Oh man, how is this going to affect me? How's it going to affect the bottom line? What am I going to do?" But you have to really just make sure that you show them that you care about them, right? And not look at the small picture. You have to look at the big picture. It's very, very important. The third thing is you have to walk the walk, right? More than ever, okay? You have to be present. You have to be a part of the team. You have to go out because you're going to have days where you're going to have one or two people missing. Somebody's gone. Maybe, things are like just people's inconsistency in their mind and their mindset. And you have to be the guy out there moving cars. You have to be the guy out there showing them, "Hey, I'm going in on your TO," right? You can't be the guy telling them every day, hounding on them. You have to be the guy that's there, present, showing your vision, making sure that you show them what to do. And that's kind of what we've done. All right. It's always been hands-on here, Dave. You know me. I mean, I'm a culture guy, and I think the only way to build a culture is through a hands-on experience. But more than ever, you just got to make sure that your people understand that you are part of this with them. It is not them on the front lines by themselves. It is a fight. We are fighting something here. And when you sell that, we are fighting something. We are the underdog. We got to rah-rah this every day, and you're a part of it. I think they buy into that.
I wanted to stay right there for a second, and Shawn, you can just come right back to this. But Brett, I know as leaders, all of us, right, have done some type of studying on, military leaders of the past, going way back. I mean, that generals and so forth. I mean, a lot of leadership books have been written. So, I mean, when I'm sitting here listening to you, my mind just goes to like the concept of we've been in, a very unique time. I mean, it's just been, where leadership has to be present. And I wrote that down, the long quote you said in the beginning about if you're going to be whoever's present in the dealership has to be present in the dealership. And I started thinking about, the sergeant, the leadership style of the one who goes, "Hey, go over there and do it," or the one in wartime, right? In a unique time or in hostile time that goes, checks it out, does it, comes back and says, "Okay, I went, I did it, I checked it out. Now come on, guys, follow me, let's go." That's what I heard you say in really all three of those points. I mean, does that make sense?
Very true and very important, Dave. And another thing is you can't be this, and I think we can take this out of COVID too. Okay, we got to understand this. You cannot be the guy that's out there screaming, yelling, and hounding your people. Okay, people will shut you out. They tune you out. If you need to be that loud person one time, it needs to be one time, every once in a while. Because if you're that guy all the time, they're going to tune you out. But if you come in and you have to lay that down and you have to slam that door and you need to talk to them in that kind of way, but you only do it once every 6 months, they're going to listen to you and they're going to get behind you and they're going to rally the troops and they're going to go out there and stand by that water cooler now and bitch at each other and say, we need to carry this flag up this hill because he doesn't do this very often and he is serious. And that's kind of what we've done. We rally the troops. We handle every single day like it's one day. It's not a month. It's one day, right? Did we win the war today? Great.
Good.
We got to go tomorrow and do it again, man. It's a battle every single day. And that's what I try to focus on. That's why we have meetings every single morning. You got to have meetings every single morning, right? Just so you can talk about the battle you're about to have today and not look at the big picture of a whole month. You break it down into daily battles.
That's good.
I love it.
How about you, Kevin? What have you modified to keep your key personnel performing in the new normal, so to speak?
Well, first of all, thanks guys for having me on. And I think Shawn came over here and stole some of my notes. I was going to say a lot of the same things.
How far is Hopewell from Richmond?
We're right down the road. We compete with each other right now.
Oh, man.
Yeah, we're 15 down the park.
I didn't even think about that.
So a lot of what Shawn said is kind of what I had written down in some of my notes. And I think Shawn's spot on a lot of that stuff. One of the things that I got to thinking about that, that we did in expanding on what he said about really being a part of that team, being there with them, letting them know you care about them. Things like, changing we shifted our hours. We used to be open till 8 o'clock, and we'll stay open as late as we need to stay open. But letting our guys go an hour earlier and leaving at 7, the world of difference that made in the morale of our salespeople was unbelievable. And just a little hour shift, things like that, encouraging. Instead of, I think historically in the car business, you don't take a day off. You work bell to bell every single day. Mm-hmm. But instead, encouraging them, hey, take your day off. Go spend time with your family. We understand these are weird times. Go spend time with your wife and your kids, your grandkids, whatever. Doing those things where you are like Shawn was mentioning, you are encouraging them to know that you care about them as a person. It's not just about the business. And I think the same thing is true with us. I'd have to look and see exactly, but we're up somewhere around that 30% to 32% increase year over year in the middle of all this stuff. And it's because of that mindset of I'm not gonna shrink back, I'm not gonna pull back, I'm not gonna be scared. The people around you they're gonna see what kind of leader you are, and they if you're that strong leader, you're pushing forward, you're saying, guys, we're in this together, we're gonna push forward together. They're gonna follow you.
Well, Kevin, I wouldn't worry about having some of the same stuff, because I can tell you, if we put 10 leaders in the same room, a lot of us are going to be saying the same things, and that's what makes people that perform at a high level similar. What typically happens is you'll get one nugget that you go, man, I didn't think of it that way, or, man, that's a good twist on that. That's something I need to implement. But, I mean, I think we would probably all say the same thing if we were in the same room.
One of the things I wrote down when Kevin was just talking too, and again, I'm just getting, this is really good for everyone listening right now. Somebody could be watching and saying, well, I'm not a GM, I don't run a store, but man, I'm going to tell you something. First of all, when I introed Shawn, just a couple, 4 years ago, whatever it was, when Shawn first came on our show, Shawn was a salesperson, high-performing, high-earning salesperson, but a salesperson in Florida, and here he is now, speaking to you as a general manager. So first of all, what seat, your position will change. But one of the things I wrote down is leadership understands mindset. So when I got what Kevin said, if you're not careful and you don't think of it the right way, it's not about giving in to fear or trying to buy into some philosophy other than the philosophy of, look, if I can get my people's mind right, then they're going to perform. If I can just get their mind right, and that's what I kind of got out of that. Whether it's you do it in an extra hour off early or what have you, or you start to modify it, because people are under different types of pressure, even if it's not financial or if it's just things are different. And if nothing else, it's just kind of exhausting when you watch media and so forth. And I think that those times are more sacred. And what you just did is got into the hearts of your people, and they'll perform better for you because of the kind of leader you are. And that's what I got out of that.
Well, I think what you're saying, and I think Shawn keyed on it and Kevin keyed on it, now you keyed on it. I think what you're saying is that every action you take as a leader, whether it's a personal action, whether it's a professional action, whether it's a daily job function action, affects the people that you're leading. And you have to be very mindful of those things. And going to what Kevin said, he's talking about showing that caring mindset that, hey, man, I know you've been putting in 80 hours. Why don't you take tonight off and go spend some time with your family? Or why don't you go take some time off and spend some time with your friends or whatever it is. That's another piece of that puzzle that you have to put together. And then if you go back to what Shawn's done, he was talking about performance. He's talking about getting them excited. He's responsible for the attitude. If he's not up, they're not up, right? If he's down, they're going to be down. They're going to key off of whatever he's doing, you know.
COVID's really good for recruiting too, to be honest with you. We've got 3 guys moving here, 325 card guys that are moving here in the next 3 weeks. Already got places here that I've been able to pluck off from other dealerships who want to come here, but their dealership at this time kind of shrunk back. And we said, well, we're pushing forward. So it's been great for recruiting.
Yeah, absolutely. We got 4. I'm with you 100%. And that's actually one of our questions. We'll go to Blaine and Joe in a little bit on that. Joe's got a guy starting on Monday, just an absolute hammer that, that's a perfect timing. And then we have 4 starting in our sales team here that are just, it's funny because I said this the other day. I believe, and I'm sure everyone on this panel believes, and Brett, you believe this, that we're the best place to work anyway. I mean, we all should believe that, or we have no business, doing what we do. However, it doesn't mean you always get the best the way you could right now, because they may never notice you. It's right now that there's, if you're hiring and you're hiring with a forward-thinking strategy, that's rare right now. And so it's going to gather the attention of people that should belong and do belong with you that may otherwise have not seen you. They may not even noticed you. So I think that's huge. And let me go to Blaine on that. With that question, kind of jumping down, Shawn kind of shifted it a little bit. Have you changed any of your interview strategies? With that, Blaine, have you changed your interview strategies? Have you been a little more picky? What's that looking like when bringing some really key personnel into your dealership at this particular point?
Well, for starters, thanks for having me on the show, guys. Appreciate it. Don't have the same accent as y'all. Working on it. At this point, I haven't actually really changed any of my hiring strategies. Some of the best hires I've found, I've either approached through noticing the way they serve, noticing the way they carry themselves, conducting themselves at the business that they're already at. At this point, pre-COVID, I've only laid off people. I haven't hired anyone back yet. We are up year over year. I think the dealership, from when I took it over, it was a little overstaffed. But as far as changing any of my strategies, I haven't actively had any postings at this point. Okay. But some of the best success I've had, going back to the first question, my 2 business managers, they're not rated number 1 and number 2 within our auto group of 35 stores. And we're kind of a weird size where we don't have the volume that I want. And to have 2 of them here all day, they don't stay as engaged as I'd like, right? Because I don't have the volume. So what I actually did with them, because I thought, if I work a 2-week in, 2-week out rotation with them, will they perform better? So we went to that at the beginning of COVID. Their numbers have only gone up, and they were already on the extreme. Some of the other things, you guys already touched on them, but who we stayed with, that was sort of on our team, a part of our culture. When all this sort of madness happened, it's funny, you talk about mission and vision and the values. Well, we got it all printed on our, right?
Nice.
Our mouse pads, right? So everybody in the building, they've got one. They got posters up right behind us. Everything's kind of been communicated in that way, in a really strong way. And it's interesting because, you touched on hours. Like we scaled back our hours on Saturday in service 12 to 3, or from 9 to 3 to 9 to 12 now. And then sales, we dropped probably 2 hours on Saturday. We're done at 3, and then we dropped our late Thursday night shift. So less people, less hours, and we're still going up.
Hey, Blaine, do me a favor. Hold that mouse just for a second. Can you hold that mouse pad in front of the camera? Because I want to say something. If you're watching this, just as a kind of caveat here, this is how powerful words can be. I'm just going to read a few of them. So look, you go home, you hear on the news, you hear fear, uncertainty, COVID, you hear spread, you hear panic, and then you see strive, positive, successful, values, team, trust. Put it in front of your people, because what they're seeing is going to narrate their steps. I'm telling you, man, that's powerful, brother, because people are getting inundated with everything but that. So I can't applaud you more. And one of the simplest but yet most powerful things that we can do is put things in front of people, so that when they come into our organizations, their minds are going to they're going to be shifted in a different direction. It's like coming into a place where this might be the only place I get it, but I'm going to get it.
Well, Shawn was talking about bringing in better employees, and we're talking about changing interview strategies. The one thing that we've tried to do is, even if somebody's a 25-car person, is really get inside their head, make sure they're a culture fit. Because you can get somebody that's a high performer somewhere else that doesn't fit in your culture, and it's like letting cancer in, and then all of a sudden it metastasizes. And you can't get it out. Shawn, have you changed any of your interview strategies post-COVID? I mean,
no, because I don't even ask people how many cars they sell when I interview them. I usually, I really don't. I ask them so much other stuff. That comes out when talking, or I followed them on Facebook, or they follow me. I know them like that. But no, I dig down. I want to know what you've been through in your life. Tell me some of the things that have been some obstacles in your life. I want to know what kind of grit and determination you have and how you got out of it. That's where I start my interviews, and I go from there in conversation, because I know me as a young man, okay, compared to the man that I am today, and the development that took along the way. I want to know where you're at in your stage and in your life, and
nice. That's
good. Go from there. That's the most important thing to me, because the amount of I can tell and teach anybody how to sell a car, okay, but I can't teach you how to have the work ethic, the desire, the grit and determination that's going to take to be the utmost successful person in this business. And that's what I want. That's what I want to foster, because the rest is easy. But I can't teach you to want it like I want it. Mm-hmm. And I can tell you all day how much I want it. And I can motivate you and inspire you for about 20 minutes. But at the end of the day, when the rubber meets the road, are you going to want it like I want it? And that's the important thing to me.
Yeah, it's the old adage, how do you get motivated people, is you hire motivated people. Right?
Yeah.
Right.
Joe, let's get Joe, man. Why don't you just weigh in, jump in both feet into the deep end, and whatever you want that you've heard so far, I'm just going to let you kind of weigh in on it. You might be muted, Joe.
You're muted, Joe.
Joe, you're muted.
How about that now? Can you hear me now?
Got you, baby.
I can hear you now.
All right, man. Good. Well, thanks again. I'm in the outside the door here. Just going to give you a peek of where I am here, guys, so you can see a little bit of the office view here and what we have going on. So, but thanks for letting me do that while I'm out here working. But all I heard was communication, constant communication. And that's the clear message that I'm getting from everything here, is that it's communication with your team. And basically what the scripture says about writing the vision, making it plain, that he may run with it who reads it. And I think that's the key there, is that when we communicate effectively and make sure that everybody knows what we're saying, why we're doing it, and it's clear to them, it's not so that they can just barely crawl around and maybe get to it eventually. We want our people running with it. And I think that's the clear message, is that so that they can be so empowered and so ready that they're running and they're going full speed ahead quickly. And I think that's the key too, is because we see that with, we're shrinking back on hours, we're pulling back on staff, but we're being more efficient, more productive, selling more cars, making a difference, and the people are making, big strides. We have to have people running, not just walking or crawling through this. So that's kind of where I'm at, and I think that that's the clear message here.
Brett, thank you, Joe. Blaine said something a minute ago when it's interesting because he started by saying, hey, I didn't hire anybody back yet, but then he followed that up, but we were overstaffed is what I found. So, I mean, it's interesting because we look at it always in adding, but it's you can be more productive by pruning, you know what I mean? we've
been on, not this particular topic, but we've had a lot of people talk about what they've done post COVID, and I think probably to Blaine's point is I think we all have done. We've all looked at our businesses and going, in the fat times, where did we get too fat? And how can we operate more efficiently? And how can we take better care of the capital, both human capital and financial capital in our expense accounts? And I think that's probably what Blaine was saying. You look at your staff and say, who's the best performing people, and what can I generate and get more out of?
Yeah, that's good. It's good stuff. Kevin, man, why don't you weigh in on maybe add to it a little bit? Something you've heard that you might want to expound upon.
Yeah, I've actually been sitting here writing down notes. Is what I was doing.
Me too.
So I appreciate what I've been hearing. I really like that mouse pad. That's a pretty cool idea.
That is cool.
But we kind of had adopted a strategy pre-COVID. Sorry, hold on a second. We had adopted a new strategy pre-COVID, and I think honestly, it was in times like this. I think you have to make sure that you are able to adapt. But if you're not already set and ready in times like this, you're going to be in trouble in the first place. So, to say that just because COVID hit, we got to change some things. You need to take a step back and look at, where were you beforehand? The change should have happened, well before that ever hit. The dealers, I think, that have pushed forward and have had the most success are the people who have looked at, like Shawn mentioned, the idea of looking at it not as a month, but as every single day. And I know Shawn has talked with Glenn about this. I've talked with Glenn about this idea of this infinite game, that you're not just looking at this. We're on a 30-day cycle. No, it's you're looking at the dealership and the business as a whole is infinite. You don't come to a point where you finally say, all right, I won. It's over with. I'm done. I'm going to walk away. No, it's constantly going and constantly moving. So you have to be constantly working to make sure that you're staying on top of your game, and not just looking at it on a 30-day cycle. So be prepared where no matter what happens in the market, no matter what happens with our country, no matter who's the next president, no matter what if Amazon moves in down the street or Amazon doesn't move in down the street, no matter what happens, you're prepared one way or another. So for me, it hasn't really changed. This hasn't changed me. It is the idea of having this infinite mindset that no matter what happens, I'm going to be prepared. Is really what changed me.
That's good. I love that too. And Glenn Lundy had talked about that before. I know that the one week I spoke in on the 800% club he did. He talked a little bit about that, Kevin, and that's a really good point where really not looking at it as 30 days, and we get so fixated on that. It's like a measuring stick. I get it, but I mean, it's like watching one game and then your team loses and it ruins your week. You know what I'm saying? You can't let it do that, and and really it's looking at it as a whole. Like this is what I do, and I'm going to be doing this 45 days from now, 60 days from now, and what have you. And it's good to have measuring sticks and tools and things like that, because you gotta be able to measure right what you manage, and but looking at it differently, like looking at it as the big picture, and that makes a lot of sense. And I think that there's a reason that successful people, I think, look at it that way. And
well, when we talk to our fixed operations people, I tell them, look at a line and draw it over a 2-year time span and see, you're going to have peaks and valleys, but see if the trend is up. And so rather than focus on the daily stuff, look at it over time. The daily stuff is what it takes to drive to the end of the day. Whatever my tasks are and whatever I'm supposed to be doing to the end of the day, that's the daily stuff. But then does the daily stuff translate into a long-term graph? And is that long-term graph, you're going to have peaks and you're going to have valleys, but in that long-term graph, is it going like this or is it going like that? And if that trend line's going down, that's when you really got to make some changes.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. Shawn, man, go back to you and we'll go back around robin. What do you think?
About?
you start. I guess we did kind of exhaust that point. So maybe throwing in this, look, hearing everything, it always shifts. It ceases to amaze me that we kind of shift into, just organic conversation, which I think is the way it should be. But I mean, looking at what Kevin said, and I know that you subscribe to, you and Glenn are close as well, and I know that philosophy probably bleeds into your DNA as well. But looking at it from the standpoint of a quarter or 6 months, looking at it a little bit longer, what do you think that does for us and, as leaders and into our operations?
Well, I think a lot of times we for the long time, and I saw it when I was sitting on the sales floor and I was sitting as a sales manager and watching people above me make decisions. Mm-hmm. I felt like a lot of our decisions were based on months. So I do understand. I have read the book of Simon Sinek, The Infinite Game, and basically a lot of our decisions, the hiring decisions, how we buy cars, how we pay people, all based on 30-day cycles, right? But a lot of the decisions we make are not in the best benefit if we would look at everything through a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, right? So that book, if anybody hasn't read that, needs to read that in the car business, because it really can apply. I know it wasn't made to apply for the car business, but it sure does apply. We need to make our decisions, whether they're hiring people or inventory and everything else. I don't know, if you build a big building, right? You want this big old building, right? With a big rent and a big old check you got to write every month. All those things, we think we want that. But at the end of the day, is it the best thing for the dealership, the people that work with you, right? Your service techs, your service advisors. Can you pay people well when you do that? Can you, when you get your inventory in, like every decision needs to be thought of in the long term instead of just a 30-day cycle. And I think it's very, very important. It really gave me a different perspective on things, because I'd always lived in the 30 days, man. Always.
The hero to zero.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Every month I would come in and, let's start all over. And every decision I made on how many days I worked, how long I worked, the decisions I made at work were all based on selling a lot that month, right? But a lot of them weren't probably the best thing to do over the long term for my family life. The decisions I make on how long I stay at work, or how many hours I would work, or how many cars I would need to sell. We got to look at things differently. Instead of compartmentalizing in 30 days, we need to look at it through the lifetime of our lives and the business.
Yeah, I think one of the things I wrote down when you were talking, Shawn, is I wrote serve the team. Does it serve the team or does it serve the ego? And so I think a lot of decisions are made to serve the ego. And when you serve the ego, you have to force yourself into that 30-day mindset, because you're making decisions that you can't probably sustain without, kind of like the old movie with the boiler room, right? You got to get in that boiler room mindset. And when you do that, you wear people out. Yeah. I'm
sorry. That's really great, because I want to talk about inventory real quick. I made some inventory decisions this month that probably set us back for the month, but over the long time, it was the right decision for the dealership. Like my ego, as you were saying, I need to sell a certain amount so I can keep this upward trend. So your ego and everybody else can be fueled by this, right?
Right.
But then you could get into the problem of just buying cars and selling them, right? But you pay too much, you make too little, you're losing money on deals. It saturates your dealership with cars that you're in too deep. And over the long term, you lose, right? But your ego's fed.
Right.
So at the end of the day, you have to make decisions that are based on serving the team, serving the dealership group. And at the end of the day, when you do that, I think you're going to be the better person in the long run.
Blaine, Blaine, do Canadians have egos, or is it just an American thing?
No,
well, we feed the ego too.
Yeah. You feed the American ego or just the Canadian
ego? I was getting you back for the y'all comment, but so once you weigh in, you've heard a lot, Blaine. It's been a few minutes since you commented. I mean, I'm sure there's something that was said that you might want to comment on. Just go back to any point or what have you, and just feel free.
Yeah, I mean, I think part of our decision to roll back our hours and everything, and it's kind of been touched on, is we got to find ways to operate and be sustainable with our people. And I looked at, just to give you a little bit of a background, I came to this store in 2015 as a salesperson.
Nice.
And when I look back from that time frame to today, the turnover, I mean, almost in every position, right, was it just absolutely staggering. I mean, there's been over 24 salespeople on the floor. There's been 6 different business managers. Wow. There's been, I'm the 4th GM. Statistically, I'm due. I'm about to, at that point where I'm over the hill. So it's interesting because I go, why is that? And I go, I mean, part of it's culture, right? Part of it is leadership. Part of it's top down. And looking at it, like, I've really been selective about who I'm bringing in, and then who I got out and why I got out. And then, going back to it, because I went, if I haven't actually properly communicated our mission and our vision and our values, what am I? They don't know. They don't know. So that's why I put all this stuff out there. I put it down there. It's been talked about. We're constantly talking about it. And then we're going one step even further now. Whereas I go, I mean, Shawn, you mentioned a bit of it, Shawn, where it's like, those interview questions, those deep interview questions that I go, that's what I want to know about. Is this guy all talk? I don't care how many cars you sell, because selling cars is just the byproduct of doing a good job. Can you do a good job, right? I don't care about net profit, right? Net profit's going to take care of itself if we do our job, right? And it's all tied together, mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, socially. And I go, all of my people, and I go, it's kind of interesting because when we actually got paired up with your organization at Auto Dealer University, I went, wow, this is a breath of fresh air from a training perspective. Never had a training company be so in line with a lot of the same stuff that I'm trying to implement here, and to lead the business from a biblical perspective. It's interesting, especially at this dealership and in this time. So I mean, I've committed to coaching to anybody that's willing, right? So I have a personal development coach that actually he's been with me for 7 years. I could honestly say he's probably the main reason I'm even in the position I am. He's married me and my wife. Now I got him training the rest of the team. He's my pastor, right? But it's just like, he's like, you got to get mentally right. You got to get physically right. You got to get emotional. And it's just like, it's that kind of, I guess, our holistic approach. And it's interesting because the salespeople that have issues or have, I guess not just salespeople, but anybody, right? You can just see them bring it in the door. And it's interesting because I go, like, I'm okay, GM, but I'm going, I got to help sort them out. And it's interesting because it just keeps going deeper and deeper, and everybody's lives seem to be getting a little bit better. But it's like, I do care about helping sort this out for them, right? So the people that we have now after COVID, I mean, they're an awesome group. Like, they really are. Everybody's ready and willing to go to bat any day of the week. But I don't think, and some of them have seen a couple different stores and a couple different GMs, and I don't think they've had anyone that really cares this much. So really looking at sustainable ways of trying to operate to not lose people, especially good people.
It's good.
But yeah.
Well, I can tell you, Blaine, one of the things I heard from you answered your own question. The reason why you've outlived your tenure there is because you're building men and women. All of us that are in the car business or any business, David's business or Joe's business, you expect performance out of your people. That's I mean, we have to do that, right? We have to execute, we have to perform. But when you as the leader build men and women, you're equipping them to perform long term. You're equipping them to build their personal lives, their professional lives, their financial lives, their mental lives, their spiritual lives. their physical selves. And when you do that, that develops a culture and a loyalty and a performance that bears fruit, not just gets the daily work done. I'm sorry, Dave.
No,
I didn't
no,
mean to cut you off.
No, you didn't cut me off. I was just going to go to Joe and say, Joe, you want to weigh in? We'll after Joe, we'll go into one more round of questions and let everybody go because we got a few minutes after this. But Joe, I'll give you a chance to weigh in real quick.
Actually, before Joe goes, I'm going to do something I never do and actually talk because I actually put some.
Oh God, I was like, where did that come from?
Yeah, it's like that's the voice of the
God,
Lord in the
you?
background, man.
No, it's interesting because
This is our producer, guys, Mike.
Yeah.
I'm behind the camera.
Dude, I was looking at somebody's mouth, and I'm like, no one's mouth's moving. Who is that?
No, it's interesting because I've heard everybody talking, and it's hiring practices have definitely changed in COVID because what I've heard from everybody so far is you're more careful about who you're hiring now. Making that investment now is maybe a little bit harder to make than it was before. And what's interesting is when you put the time into hiring the right people that are performers, you're actually able to go back. I believe Shawn and Kevin said it. You can actually not care. You don't have to worry so much about the performance. If you hire the right people, the performance is there. You can actually spend time as a leader caring about that employee, which motivates them even further. I thought that was just interesting to tie all that together.
Yeah, what he's saying is
are you doing this because your review's coming up soon, Mike? Is that
Nope.
Okay, I'll make sure.
What he's saying is you can spend time. You can spend time what you're supposed to be doing, which is leading,
Yes.
rather than having to jump in and doing personal production so you can meet the number.
100%.
Right?
Joe, thank you, Mike.
You're muted.
So no, I got it. So just to speak on some of the things that you were talking about, and again, I know all three of you guys, Shawn, Kevin, and Blaine, and Blaine, we and Kevin as well, we've done some live trainings together. One thing that I think is so awesome that's coming out of this whole, everything that's been going on with this, COVID stuff, is that it's created a turn on the dime mentality to dealers and to people who maybe thought that they never needed to change. You know what I mean? That it really does challenge our ability to go ahead and make a difference, make a change, do something outside the box, and figure out new ways. And now creating that type of thought process and mentality is key for the success of where we're going here. And all of you guys have that. You're staying fluid. You're staying, keeping the ability to stay flexible and move and go with the wind, so to speak. But one of the things too is I want to just show is that in our office here, we have these on all of our desks for Auto Dealer University, and this is our vision board here. And this pretty much tells everybody here that works with us what our main focuses are. And our 2020 vision is to glorify God in everything we say and do, to provide an unmatched level of service to our customers, to always support our company and our teammates. And if we approach every single day with this commitment, your income will take care of itself. We, of course, train. We train our team. We take care of our team with their skill set. We constantly work in empowering them with that, but we also pour into them as a person. We have the time and take the time to make sure that not only the professional skill set's developed, but the personal side of them is developed, the personal development. And we believe that the key is in both, because obviously you want to have the right person in the right spot. And a skill set can be taught, right? You know that. If you have the right person in the area here, it creates that culture, it creates that energy, it creates that environment for there to be a team win. When we celebrate, when one person does one thing, we celebrate with that person. So I think that's the true thing I'm hearing as well is leadership from your feet. When Shawn, you talked about you're out there with them. And I think that, we lead from our feet and not just from our seat. We're upstanding with them. We're talking with them. We're coming next to them and within 6 feet for some of them. But for most of them, we're coming close to them and we're handling the opportunity. We're handling the opportunity so that we can, again, help them make a difference in their business. But so that's just my last
that's good
input on this. And I appreciate you guys for jumping on here, and Blaine and Kevin and Shawn. You guys are a blessing, man.
Well, a little plug for you though, Joe, is that and I'm I don't know these gentlemen that's on our show, but I'm just listening to what they say and what kind of fruit they're bearing, and I know leaders, and leaders are not scared to train their people because they're building the culture to keep them, and culture is what keeps people, right? But when you train people and you invest in them, they feel more more connected to the organization. I remember when I was a kid, my dad got a job and he was coming home, and I was a young boy, and I'm overhearing him talking to my mother, and he's saying, well, they're spending $2,500 to send me to training, and they spent $1,000 on a plane ticket, and they put me up in a hotel room. I think it's a long-term deal. I don't think they would invest that kind of money in me if they weren't serious about me. And trust me, all of us, our employees say the same thing when we do that.
It's good stuff.
If that makes any sense.
Good, man.
You know.
Well, let's do this as we wrap it up. Let's start with we'll go Shawn, Kevin, and Blaine, and
This
then
is
Joe.
our last question we always ask.
Well, we could do that at the end, but I want to give them a chance to closing because we got about 10 minutes, but we'll give them a chance to close remarks out. And because that might be a quick question if we ask them that. Shawn, man, just what, I'll leave it up to you. Just give us some closing, remarks. Maybe something you think that would be something that you want to leave with the people that are listening to kind of wrap up maybe this conversation in general.
Yeah. I'm all out of ideas, Dave. No, just kidding.
I know how close Kevin is to you. You don't want to give him too much, right?
He's all out of ideas he wants to share on live.
Kevin said he was taking notes, but Kevin was taking notes, Shawn, but I noticed it was only when you were talking. I'm not really sure.
Right.
Just kidding.
I think it's just very important that I really would like to speak to the leaders out there, the managers. Okay, this comes from somebody who beat the streets for 10 years selling cars and had many managers who were not leaders. Okay, I think it's very, very important that you understand that a dealership will not grow, your people will not grow, and you will not grow until you get moved from a manager to a leader. Okay, you have to develop daily. You have to. I mean, a lot of times people, they sell cars really well, and then they get into a management spot and they sit back and they think that they've made it now. They put their feet up, they shovel Chinese food into their mouth, and then they bark orders at people, and they wonder why their people and their dealership isn't growing. But that's not what it's about, man. In fact, when you get to be a manager, that is when leadership starts. That is when growth should start. You shouldn't stop. You should start, right? You should push harder, because that is the only way to get to develop people, and people look at you. They respect you if you deserve respect. You know what I mean? And I feel like there's a lot of managers in our business and not enough leaders. And that's why it's a passion for me to tell people every day, don't stop growing. Grow yourself. Make sure it's a challenge. Don't compare yourself to others. Compare yourself to the man in the mirror. And if you're developing at the speed you need to be.
That's good stuff.
Good. If you don't grow, you got to go.
Amen, bro. That's good stuff, man.
Thank you, Shawn.
Yeah, man.
Go to Kevin.
I was thinking about all this. I think about my father, who's still our dealer principal, still hanging around, kind of our comptroller type deal. He, when I think of a servant leader, that's who I think of is my father.
That's nice.
Just an extremely humble person. And the very first time when I really got first introduced to Glenn and what he was doing, and he was going to host an event out in Kentucky, and I went into my father and I said, hey, I want to go to this thing, and I really talked to him about how I really connected with him on a personal level and all this stuff, and he sent me, and I came back and we were talking and we were talking about the different things that I had learned and from Glenn, and he said, and I was talking about doing some further stuff with him, and he said, Kevin, I'm not investing in Glenn, I'm investing in you.
Nice.
And it hit me that, he said, Glenn sounds like a great guy. He didn't know him. He sounds like a great guy, but I'm investing in you. And it hit me as a person, as a leader. This is my leader telling me I'm investing in you. I'm going to give you what you need to grow. And in return, I have to do that for my people. I have to every single day say, I'm going to invest in you. That's the most important part of our business as leaders. So that's what I think about when I think about a leader, a servant leader, a humble person like my father. So that's what I just,
It's good stuff.
How about you, Blaine?
It's kind of interesting the date and the timing of this whole thing. And I guess I'll just share kind of what I led the fellas with in this morning's meeting. So today would mark 5 years for myself, clean and sober.
Sweet.
And so they know this, and I'm pretty open, and I talk about it all the time with them. And I go like, that was an issue in my life, and it didn't get solved until I owned the problem. And we talk about it, and I want them to exercise extreme ownership, right? Extreme ownership in everything that they do, with their wife, with their kids, with their job. And I tell them the story because I go, I mean, I wouldn't be sitting in the chair if I didn't do it. I wouldn't have my 4 kids now if I didn't do it. I probably still wouldn't be with my wife. We wouldn't have got married. We wouldn't have, I wouldn't have the life that I have and be as blessed as I am if I didn't own my problem, right? So go out there, accept ownership. We're going to make mistakes, but let's move on, right? And
good stuff.
I
love it.
Yeah.
That's good, man.
That's really good.
That's inspiring.
Good job, Blaine.
But you've been busy the last 5 years, man. If you put all those kids, you had all those kids in the last 5 years. That's not a big gap in between. A couple of them twins, or
They call them Irish twins. They call them.
Okay,
Oh yeah, that's right.
As I say, man. Joe, we'll let you close.
Hey, no, I'm just thankful to be a part of an organization like Auto Dealer University, connected with David Villa, IPD, and as well as like you guys are all connected with the people and network that you have that inspires you and motivates you and pushes you to become a better person. I recently said that, and I posted, some of you guys, I think all you guys, we're all friends, all of us on Facebook, and that's the one thing I love about it, is that seeing each other's posts really just fires me up. But I recently posted a picture of somebody where it shows, it's like a statue, and it shows, the person on the top is like all chiseled out and like in shape, and then it's like, on the bottom there's, he's shaping and chiseling away the things to create a shape of where he's looking to be. And I think that it reminds me of a story about how Michelangelo used to look at his art and his sculpture, and he would sometimes with frustration scream, "Get out," or "Come out." And because inside of each and every single one of those rocks is a masterpiece waiting to just become, to come out. And many times it takes work, it takes ownership, it takes understanding that I have to chip away at it, I have to peel away at it, I have to, continue to work on it every single day. But I think when we take that and put that into our hands and into God's hands, and with his help, we understand that even in our weakness, his strength is made perfect. We understand that he has grace to help us live, grace to survive, grace to do everything that we've been able and been called to do. I think that by keeping ourselves surrounded in that will help bring out that person, that masterpiece, that person that may not be out yet but is coming out. And so I think that by keeping our network tight like this with people of like mind and of like faith, it's only going to help us get better and stronger. So I'm grateful to be connected with every one of you guys.
Hey, let us ask real quick before we close. We've been doing this every week, just trying to raise the level of our topics and bring it from the dealer body. Shawn, what topics would you like to hear covered that could help serve the dealer body, and something you'd like to hear from?
I think we direct so much to the front of the house. I think we need more to the back of the house. I believe in, I told our CEO this, we have 15 stores. Every single one of our GMs is front of the house driven, and not one of us could go back there and solve a problem if need be. Now, could we bumble our way through it? Yes, but I don't think we definitely in this industry pay enough attention to the back of the house.
So you'd like to hear some service topics?
Sure, absolutely.
How about you, Kevin?
Good.
That's a tough question, but it's a good answer there from Shawn. Technicians, talk about how in the world do you keep and hire and find good technicians. I know our struggle, and I'm sure Shawn can relate to this in our area, when we're not losing them to other dealerships, we're losing them to other industries completely. To things like
every time the oil business comes back.
Yeah. So how do we incentivize these guys and bring them on? I think that's a great topic.
Okay. How about you, Blaine?
Well, what Shawn said is perfect for me, because we don't have a service manager right now, so that's the best way to describe it. I'm, fumbling my way through it.
I got you.
It's very common, Blaine. All of us are.
Yeah, I think to Shawn's point, I mean, when you're not fixed operations driven, it's hard to get excited about it, because fixed is fixed for a reason. It moves very slow, and all of us can barely sit still in this podcast. So, you know, you want to get up and walk around, Shawn, because I do too. If I could pace with these ear things on, I would. And so would David.
Yeah, I would. Well, man, hey, you guys have been awesome. This has just been a great panel, and I want to thank you guys for all coming on and just sharing your heart. I got a ton of notes here that I took, and so I appreciate it, Shawn, Kevin, and Blaine and Joe. And look, you guys, hopefully you guys have a great close, and I think the second half of this year is going to be even bigger than we all expected. So I appreciate you guys.
Thank you guys.
So much.
Appreciate you coming.
Thanks, guys.
Have a good one.
Hey, you know what? Down to the bell, man. It was 4:29, and we filled that slot. That slot was full from start to finish.
That's probably been. I mean, every week we say the same thing, but that's another strong panel of people, man.
Just strong.
I mean, we didn't even set it up to be a servant leader discussion. That's what it ended up being. It ended up being,
and we got a lot of interaction, guys. I think we got a lot of interaction, right, Matthias? A lot of feedback. So we'll go back and read your comments. Make sure you share your comments, or any questions you might have. If you want to be on the show, again, what we've been shifting and going to, and it looks like we're going to have a service show coming up here soon. But I think what this, I don't want to belabor this, because we'll save it. But I think iron sharpening iron. We've been going on the message of faith this morning, or today. The biblically it talks about that, and I think what we're getting when you get people together, it's just you begin to find out how we can help one another, and we all, I love the fact that everyone's taking notes and writing things down, because there are things, I'll be honest with you, we've got things all over the walls here, and then we have the thing that Joe held up, and we have one in IPD, but it just made me think, what else can I do to put down and so they can visually see it, because what we see visually and what we read and what's in front of us, it's so important and imperative. It dictates what we think and what direction we head. And so just what more can I do? That's what I got, and
well, it was really unique, and like, again, we didn't set this up. I mean, Michael booked the show guest, and I think you booked one at the last minute. And so it wasn't, our topic was how to motivate people in the new normal.
Yeah.
But every one of the answers was, in order to motivate people, is you had to lead them as a servant.
That's good.
That's what I got from it, is everybody that was doing it and doing it well. And it sounded like all these guys were, one was up 41%, one was up 31%, one was the longest tenured manager, general manager since, and the last 4 or 5 lasted, 12, 18 months. So obviously he's doing something right, and he's 5 years clean and sober. But every one of them was, how do you do it? Is I serve other people.
Yeah, and it's funny because they didn't even use that term. No. But their description gave that definition. Their description was, this is what, and I think it's really the key. It's to be honest with you, if you really want to look at how any of us are effective, you're only going to get effective when you care about other people. I've said it, more bluntly sometimes. We want to make money, or we want to succeed. Well, money's attached to people. Your vision, if it's big, then it better include some people. It has to include people. If it just includes you, then it's small. It's never.
If you serve them, and their needs are met, your needs are going to get met, and you both go up together at the same time.
That's good stuff.
Yeah.
Well, hey, make sure you guys email Mike M. Cherub right there at IPD Agency if you want to be part of the show, or if you know somebody, recommend someone. And we'll see you guys next week.
And subscribe to that Game Changer and watch David Villa and give you some motivation, get you up on a weekly basis.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Okay. All right, guys, we'll see you next week.
All right, thank you.